Hello, everyone. Welcome to Easy Allies. I am Daniel Bloodworth, joined today by special guest Brandon Jones,
Howdy.
who's been playing Disney Dreamlight Valley,
Yes.
which is now out in early access. One of those games where you like get a variety of founders packs or whatever. Right? It's like pay to be the privileged beta tester. But we did get a code a couple of days before the official early access launch, and this is it was also really funny, Jones, because this game was like announced on the day we recorded your last podcast, but just whatever stroke of fate. So of course we had to bring you back.
Came right in at the end. I was like, no. And we should probably start there because it's like I have to play this for so many reasons, because it makes sense, for me being a Disney fan. It makes sense, for me to cover it, for Easy A. Plus, there's like that, it's an Animal Crossing variant, if you will.
Right.
This is a daily life sim, if you can imagine your life living with all of these Disney characters and this weird fantasy realm. And so, yeah, just for so many reasons, I was curious to check it out.
Yeah, so Animal Crossing is one of the first things that comes to mind, obviously, since we put a lot of time into that recently. But I mean, also potentially Sims-ish or Harvest Moon-ish, or what does it feel most like to you? Does it feel most like Animal Crossing?
Totally Animal Crossing.
Okay.
I actually wasn't sure of that before I started the game, if it was going to be the same as Animal Crossing, which means if it's 9 a.m. in my world, it's 9 a.m. in the game world. And it has the same thing for people that have played New Horizons. And that's really where I'm going to start kind of a lot of with people's assumptions, because there are a lot of stuff that Animal Crossing does that I wish this game did. And a couple things actually that they do, a couple things can be frustrating, but I'm like, man, if only Animal Crossing, even now, however many months, years later, if they could just please add this very simple thing. Just like New Horizons, it has like an introductory period. And then like
Right.
once you get past the tutorial, like a prompt comes up that says, all right, now you're synced in. And there's no store that's closed or anything. Like it just gets dark. So there's not a lot of, I don't believe there's not a lot of functionality. Goofy likes to sleep in. That's the only thing. I had a mission this morning to go talk to Goofy. And I'm like, Goofy's asleep. But yeah, it's very similar to Animal Crossing, just in kind of like the bare bones setup. And that's one of the reasons I was interested to talk to you, Blood, about just kind of your perspective on I can go on about everything I was expecting in this game and just list all of, the stuff that stuck out to me. But are there any big questions before we start? Or you're like, just how
Well,
they
I
pulled it off?
mean, it's people have been abducted or something, right? Like it feels like there's almost like a Rune Factory quest or something going on here.
A quest is a good thing to bring up, because I think that's like one of the biggest differences between this and Animal Crossing. It's like there's a story. Like there's actually, you get quests from all the characters that come in. There's kind of, Merlin kicks the whole thing off, and he's kind of like the character you keep coming back to. There's a sickness, if you will, called the forgetting. And so, and actually the writing does a good job of maintaining that story, in that like Remy comes into it pretty early on. He's the rat from Ratatouille, and you rebuild his restaurant, and when you open it, he has this line where he's like, I think I've done this before, but anyway, yay, and so like when characters meet each other, they're like, I think I've met you, but I just don't remember that actually happening, because this spooky thing came in and created thorns everywhere that like only Brandon has the magical ability to get rid of, and clean
So
the place up.
is there some sort of combat involved in that? Is there, or do you do different things based on the character's activities?
X button. You just boop. Yeah, just
Okay.
Yeah, there's sometimes they'll set up something like, oh, there's a villain, or there's some weird spooky thing going on, and it's just like, no, just make some food and give it to them, or just buy the item that they like. Bare bones, the initial attraction, I think, for anybody, is just if you're a Disney fan, it's just fun to, I like Animal Crossing a lot. I've played many versions of that game. As much as I love Animal Crossing, like we all have our favorite, quote unquote celebrity villagers that will move in. But like, if you are really into the Disney and Pixar universes, then it's fun to just like, oh, hey, there are these characters. I didn't know at one point they asked me to find Merlin, and I didn't realize at that time that you can just hit the map and you can see in real time where everybody is. And I was like, I don't know where Merlin is. I was like, I don't know what his house looks like. And I'm like, maybe this is his house. And I go in, Mickey Mouse. I'm like, oh, hi. And he's like, do you know how to use this? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm Mickey. I clearly should have talked to you yesterday. I just did not know you were in the game. But when a new character shows up, it's a big deal. There's lots of like quests that you do for them. Every day they have 3 favorite objects that like will, you can give them gifts, but like there are 3 specific things every day that they're really excited about. And so if you give them that, it'll like raise their friend level, and then that will open up more quests. And granted, these are not like gripping story beats. They're just kind of like, hey, I like bananas, go make a thing. At this point, and it is an interesting type of game to play in a preview capacity, to get an early code, have the weekend to put time in, because I am like abusing every single system that they have in place. Like there's little mining nodes, and I'm just frantically like, come on, Topaz, let's go. Like just trying to make as much money as I can, upgrading, like Scrooge McDuck's shop like 3 times in one day just to like see all the stuff that's available. But after like 4 days, I think, in the game, like I got a lot to do. Like I finally opened like the next biome and then the one after that. And yeah, every time I like go into an area, I'm just like, oh, that's right, I need that thing from Moana, and I need to, I need to pick up that little item.
So biomes and stuff. So you're talking, it goes ventures beyond just like a central town, or
Yeah, I mean, they're all connected. So like you can see
Okay.
the beach. So there's like a super tease when you go down. There's like the castle area that you first start in, and then there's like kind of like a farm area that's down below is where Goofy lives. And then just beyond that, you can see the beach, and you can see Donald Duck's boat just crashed on the beach, like in disrepair. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I can clearly get down there. And you can zoom out to the map and see what all the areas are named of. And it's just like, gee, I wonder who hangs out on the Frosty Mountain over there. Who could that be?
yeah. So very clearly defined, not like randomized or building your own space.
You can customize a lot. That was actually one of the things that surprised me going in. I was like, oh, I bet this is just really, really straightforward. And you can think of like in the way of Animal Crossing, like you don't really get to control like where Nooks is or where some of these other things are, and you have to build kind of everything around them. And there is, there's like a big plaza area, and but you can move your house, and once you set up, people somewhere, you can move their houses. You can set up, paths and walls and all that stuff. So when I first saw things, I was, it took me a while actually to even learn how to move stuff on the map. That's like a little tricky. You have to like go into the building menu and then make the menu go away. You like hit the triangle button. I'm playing on PS5, and then that goes away, and then you can adjust stuff. Yeah, it was kind of stressful actually when I realized like, oh, I can really move anything anywhere I want. And then I'm like, I don't even know how I want this place to look, because I'll just figure that out later, maybe when I just add more people. So yeah, I think that's like the biggest thing that feels a lot different from Animal Crossing is that like, characters come with quests, like they come with their own specific personalities, and there is voice dialogue, just not a ton. Usually when you talk to people, they'll do the classic like JRPG, like, hi, and then like, the big
Got it. Yeah.
paragraph of text comes up. But the biomes is interesting as well, because there's not a lot of that. I think, in Animal Crossing, you can leave the island in New Horizons to go to other places, but it's nice that like, I went to the beach, and that's like a whole different feel. And obviously like Moana is, wants to move in there. And so it's nice to go to these different areas and, get a different vibe there and different characters that want to hang out there. But I gotta say, the one thing that I emailed the development team, I emailed PR Blood, and I'm like, please tell me I'm missing something, because this is one of the biggest omissions you could have possibly put in this video game. It's so bad that I'm like, I gotta have this wrong. And like, I went through the guide, I'm like pressing every single button. You can't sort your inventory at all. You can't move items.
Weird.
Yep. So I have like holes in my inventory that just sits there, like the only way I can sort it is you have storage in your house. And so if I put something in storage and then put it back into my inventory, it fits it into like the first slot. So I'm just like, because I'm super OCD about this stuff. And it actually, in Animal Crossing, it took me a little bit, because you have to like hold the button down to like then like grab the object and move it over. You can't move stuff. And so it's like, I have to force myself to like not have it, like to not have an issue with just like, that's okay. Everything is just kind of scattered around my inventory. It's no big deal. Inventory space obviously is something, you can spend money to upgrade it. And it's obviously like a carrot that you're going to want to chase after in games like this. So while ran out of inventory space super fast when I was running around and picking stuff up, I was also like, I mean, that's just kind of how these games go. Like you gotta,
Yeah.
you know,
So you're picking up like a lot of crafting materials and things like that? Or?
picking up little twigs and little some herbs, some oregano to put in the dishes that I'm making with Remy. It took me a while actually. I was picking up flowers and just selling all of them. Like every now and then people would want one or they would work out for a quest, and then I was like, oh, I can like plant them. You know, I can like move a flower and like so you know I'm like I can put a little flower bed in front of Mickey's house if I want. So, but one thing that, speaking of OCD, that might trouble people who play Animal Crossing is every morning you get up in Animal Crossing and I can't remember if the seashells just come back or if you log off and log back in, stuff will be there. But the way I remember Animal Crossing is that like every day there's stuff, and then once you clear it all up, it's gone. The stuff comes back all the time. Like that's nice because there's like always stuff to sell. You know, like if you want to just run around and say hi to people, it's nice to just pick stuff up and, you know, just have some junk to sell, especially because there's these nodes that you can mine to get, you just get rock, but every now and then you'll get like a gem or something that you can sell for money. But if you like your place to look clean, I got news for you. There's just always stuff around, especially these little like clumps of twigs. It's like, just right on the main drag going into the plaza. It's like, come on. But it's still a very cute game, a very pretty game. So that didn't bother me for too long.
Do you get tools like do you like chop trees or fish or
there's no
all
axe.
That kind of thing?
I don't know if the axe was deemed too violent for a Disney World, but you got your shovel, which if you just shovel into the ground, that'll create a spot for you to plant something, so you can set up your orchard wherever you want.
Nice.
And you have your pickaxe, and then you have a fishing rod, your camera, but yeah, no axe. And there
sounds like you've gotten all this stuff fairly quickly.
And a watering can, yeah, just quests. You get that stuff, you know, pretty early on, and you can't. In Animal Crossing, you can actually like design your wheel, like where you want those things to go, and it's all preset. So you just got to get, fishing poles on the bottom. You just got to commit that to memory. And the fishing is a fun little mini game. It does kind of like it's a lot easier than Animal Crossing. Like Animal Crossing, you really got to pay attention. It's like someone's talking to you. You like be like, quiet, I'm fishing. Whereas it's not. It's definitely geared more toward the younger set. I will say, even though I did have that one hang up about inventory, they do two things in inventory that I really like. The huge one that Animal Crossing still doesn't do, which is if it's in my house, I still have it. So if I'm in Remy's restaurant and I'm going to cook something, I got it. I have every single thing that is either in my carried inventory or in my inventory back at the house. And the same goes for when you're building stuff like at tool benches. So it's just like nice, if I have it, just kind of my collective bag of holding. Another thing that I liked about the inventory is it's very good with quests. So when you look at your inventory, if you need an item for a quest, it's labeled. If you hover over it, you can see who wants it and for what. So if you're going to sell stuff, you don't have to remember like what flower did Mickey want. It's like it's very clearly right there. And at the top, in a lot of instances, especially with furniture, if you're going to go build something, the very top of your inventory will have a picture of that character, and it's like, this is what odds are this is the first thing that you're going to go select. For Animal Crossing fans, you will probably instantly recognize something that I don't know if another game did this, because of these types of games, I've really just played Animal Crossing, but like the whole quest format in that, like, if you pick up 5 seashells, like, yeah, you get this currency. And that's kind of like the currency that runs a lot of the unlocking stuff in the game. And so, if you once I picked up like 50, apples, then it was like, 50 apples. Here you get 100 of this currency. And then that's like the big stuff that will unlock new biomes that in a lot of instances like unlock story-based stuff. Again, just trying to, do as much stuff as I possibly can in one weekend. I'm like, okay, catch 3 fish, or just like obsessively doing all this stuff. Where I recall after like half a year of playing Animal Crossing New Horizons, I was like, I don't even need this stuff anymore. I have so much of it. So it's probably just in the early goings that you really become obsessed with getting that stuff. It auto saves. So that's nice.
Yeah.
I don't recall if Animal Crossing ever adjusted that. Oh, yeah. But it's like
it definitely does.
Oh, so if Animal Crossing crashes on you, so you're not going to like.
Oh yeah, it's saving all the time. It was actually people were worried about that at one point because they're like, "Is this going to burn out my Switch's flash memory or something?" So.
Nice. for any fans of 3DS that put those like puzzle pieces together via Street Pass, and this like seems fitted for like hardcore Disney fans, but there are like photographs that you can collect. So like every now and then when I'm like picking up items or digging or mining or something, like something will pop out, or like if I go into a new area for the first time, I'll get like a little piece of a picture. And that's nice. Just collecting wise, it's just kind of a fun goal to have. Like I imagine that stuff I'll still be collecting even after I've like done all the story stuff and unlocked all the biomes. And it's kind of fun when a picture has like 9 cracks to it, and so I'll unlock like one section of it and I'll look and it's like, that's Sully. I think that's Sully. Okay, like for a fan, it's kind of nice to like, what movie am I looking at?
Yeah, well, that's something I was wondering too, with like the furnishing sets and decorations, and like even with just like a limited number of characters, there's got to be like so much stuff available to choose from, right? Like how do they handle that? Like, do you go into a shop where you see everything kind of laid out like Animal Crossing, or is it just like the drop down like free to play game menu where there's like dozens and dozens and dozens of rows of things?
It's so Scrooge McDuck is basically the Nook of this game, which is pretty appropriate. So yeah, he has his shop. It's like one of the first things that you're prompted to unlock, and then I upgraded that twice, I think. And so I now have like an upstairs area where I have like 2 little furniture sets that I get each day. Stuff ain't cheap. I've only bought a couple of things in there.
But they are rotating it out daily.
They rotate it. Yeah, they rotate it out.
Got
right.
it. Yeah,
they rotate it out daily, and then once you've bought it, it goes into, just like Animal Crossing, it goes into a catalog that you can then talk to Scrooge, and it's neat because Scrooge is himself his own character.
Scrooge is so perfect.
He's great, yeah. And it's another thing that's neat about the story is there's a lot of dialogue options. So when you talk to characters, most times you'll get an opportunity to say different things, and they react. It's not like all of these will take you to the same place. It just gives you the option to say something. What I love is one of the options is usually like kind of harsh, and so it's kind of funny for if you like Disney stuff, but you're maybe not as like saccharine as like some of the fans, and you want to like test the limits of some of these characters. Granted, I didn't pick a lot of those options, but some of them were kind of funny. But so you can go in and talk to Scrooge and like get check the catalog or see what's available in his store. But like sometimes you go in there and he's not in there. He'll just be like wandering around somewhere, and you can check where he is on the map. And then one way to up people's friend level is you get to talk. There's like once a day you get to like be like, how you doing? There'll be like a random little question that you can ask them or something, some way you can get updated on how they're doing. Sometimes their version of like the stone in Animal Crossing that you hit with your shovel a bunch of times is every now and then when you gather, something will like explode into a bunch of pieces, and if you pick them all up in a certain amount of time, you'll get a little chest with some money or some currency or stuff. And every now and then I think this only works with like fruit bushes or fruit trees. If you go harvest them, they'll start glowing, and then you can just like tap, 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 like grab as many as you can before that runs out. And speaking of currency, Blood, you asked the all-important question, or we discussed this before we started this video, which is the thing that, Animal Crossing does have DLC, which is one of the things that maybe, I wouldn't say turned me off, but one of the reasons I was a little curious was Gameloft has developed this.
Right.
And they are strictly, if almost primarily, a mobile developer.
Definitely not strictly, but primarily, yeah.
I mean, when that Gameloft logo popped up on my big screen, I had never seen that before. I was like, it's strange to see the Gameloft logo in 4K. I'm actually playing an idle game, Idle Siege, with Gameloft right now. It's just not a developer. I was like, wow, this is a big IP, a lot of characters. They really are going for, even your character is not very it's cartoony, but is not like Animal Crossing, kind of like a squat little big-headed dude. Like I am a tall Brandon-looking guy, and all of the characters are very much, they look like them, and they're proportionate, which is great. Like they're little squirrels running around the plaza, and I love that. Like when I see Remy from Ratatouille, I'm like, oh, it's a squirrel. Oh no, it's a established Disney character. It is a Pixar lead. Hello, Remy. And so I was, a little curious if they were gonna maybe pull this off. And I'll get to glitches in a second. Like there are little weird things, but like nothing ever got me stuck. There was nothing, performance-wise, it runs okay. Like I got into the third biome, and I can't tell if that it chugged like a little bit. Finally, I was just running around moving the camera, and I was like, oh, I actually dropped some frames there for the first time. And I don't know if that's because I have so many characters running around now. Granted, I'm playing on PS5, so I have no idea how it handles on something like the Switch. But
yeah, pre-early access, sure.
Yeah, I imagine Switch will be probably the place to go, or a very enticing platform, because this might be a game you want to just take around with you. So currency, yeah, so you can pay to get I can't remember what the name of the currency is. It's like a
the
ball or like
Moonstones?
the Moonstones, right? So I've acquired 20 Moonstones from
acquired 20. Okay,
from
that's
just playing
not
the
a
game.
lot.
Right.
Yeah.
I was given 8,000 thank you, shout out to the code that we got.
Yeah,
So
that's the standard edition. Yeah.
from the standard founders pack, I was given 8,000. I've purchased nothing from this. They had I don't know if I was able to, but they had an event going on that was like a Pixar event, and so it was like a lot of Incredibles themed stuff, and I was like, that's okay. So I don't have a lot to report on in terms of like how far that currency goes. I just know that you can unlock it in the game. That was
But
just kind of
saying it's an event makes me think of like other things like Fall Guys seasons or whatever, right? Like where that stuff will rotate every week.
Yeah.
And it's like
And it's the beginning of September, so it's not like Halloween or Thanksgiving. There's no like big holiday thing or I don't know if like seasons change at all. I imagine like I'm gonna save.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save onto that currency, because if there's some Nightmare Before Christmas thing, I'll be like, all right, I got it.
Right.
I got at least.
Yeah,
buy
I
into
know
this.
there are like 3 editions. I don't remember what each one's called, but yeah, like you're saying, the standard is like 8,000 moonstones, and then the next one up is like 14.5 thousand, and then I think the highest one is like 20,000.
I will say, playing this game
But
before,
to say that you only got 20 in a couple of days, like,
Right.
oh, that's valuable.
I will say that the 2 things that I appreciated, at no point was I tempted. Like at no point was like, if only, and they never like reminded me of it. Like there's no like, and again, this is Game Loft. I would not put it past them, to have like pop-up window. Like, remember, you got this event going on. You got to set, some moonstones. So there was no point where they're like, if you, it's going to take an hour for the corn to grow, but if you sprinkle some moonstones on there, that'll go quicker. So, that might be something that they changed later, but it was nice that I like forgot I forgot it was there. It was like, it did
That's
not,
good. Yeah, hopefully it'll just be like separate decorative stuff.
Right. So the general aesthetics, being a Disney fan, I'm sure all this, the fun things that people say and the music that is playing, I'm sure I will get totally sick of it, but over time, but I enjoy it. What I love about Animal Crossing is they have like 24 tunes that play throughout the day. They have a different song every hour. And this is like, I think maybe I have 4. I think it's like every 6 hours something different plays. I noticed like at night, like, oh, there's something different playing now. But they do a fun job of like playing the beginning of a theme, something I'm like, oh, I recognize those 4 notes, but then it went off and played something else. They definitely, don't just like jam, like, When You Wish Upon a Star, like down your throat, like the whole time. I thought they had a really deep cut at first, because I went inside my house and put on Your Sunday Clothes from the Broadway musical Hello Dolly was playing, which is on Main Street in Disneyland. And I was like, whoa, that is such a deep cut. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, it's from WALL-E, because Wally's a big Hello Dolly fan. Because he's watching that and Hello Dolly. So I went when I went into Wally's world, I was like, oh, okay. That's where that came from. So still nice to have it in the game, but not a huge, not as deep of a cut as I thought it would be. There are no other Main Street songs as of yet. And so there's some characters you meet just out in the world that will show up. And they're also, it was funny. It was like a cross between Kingdom Hearts and Disney Infinity. When you like finally unlock the castle, there's a bunch of doors. And then the way they sell it is they're like, you can go into the realm. Imagine this, going into a realm of other Disney characters and seeing what it's like to live in their world. And granted, these aren't huge. Like Wally's was literally just like a room, like a very small area. But you go into that world. The 4 that I checked out were Frozen, Moana, Wall-E, and Ratatouille. And then you do some stuff for them in their world, and then you bring them back. And you can go back to that world. I was disappointed because I was like, wait a minute, can I go into like the Ratatouille world and just make a bunch of expensive dishes and then sell them? And like, no, they all vanish from your inventory when you come back. Like, I was hoping that would be a Founders Weekend glitch or something that I could take advantage of. Those are fun, and the castle is huge. Like there are a lot of roped off areas that I'm like, I don't even know if all of this is going to be available now, or if like they're maybe going to have more characters down the road. But like booting up the game, seeing the title screens, like there's Belle from Beauty and the Beast, there's Scar from Lion King, there's Stitch, there's I can see Buzz Lightyear up on the rooftop, tiny little Buzz Lightyear, like lasering one of the thorns, like, so there's a
like you said, like, life size. So
yeah,
so there's toy running around,
a ton of characters and a ton of worlds that I haven't explored yet. And it was funny, I was like explaining it to Amanda like where I don't want to say it specifically because I don't want to spoil stuff, and there's more stuff that I've explored and seen that I want to show in this video, because I wouldn't necessarily consider it a spoiler, but I imagine people who are like playing it today, they're like, I know I'm gonna play this, I'm just curious what Brandon thought of it, I don't want to spoil stuff for you. But I was explaining like, this character wants me to go into a dark portal to talk to this character because they tried to get this object for this thing, and it sounded like a fever dream. It was just like some crazy and so it's kind of fun that way, that you can see like, to see like Remy and Moana talk about cooking coconuts. He's just like, what would you do with coconuts? And she's like, oh, well, coconuts are delicious, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, neat. Granted, they had the same conversation 6 hours later, but, it's neat that they account for all of these characters bumping into each other. Reminds me of the Lego games, when you would like have funny interactions when they get together. You can put furniture outside, most of the furniture, so that's nice. They took a cue from most recent Animal Crossing. You can make your own clothes. So you can't like draw stuff, and they give you like a really heavy prompt when you first gain the ability, where they're like, be nice. Don't make. I'm sure people will take the different icons and put them together to make, various gross looking things.
But you can't do like the pixel editor kind of thing.
You can't draw it, but you can, as you go, you'll unlock like other icons and stuff like that. So I was able to put just like skull and crossbones on a shirt and wear that around. There is a Scrooge handles all of the improvements, so anytime you want to like upgrade a store or something, there's a little Scrooge construction sign. And then what I love is that if you summon him and he's like, all right, it's time to upgrade the thing, and you don't buy it, he gets like mad. He's like, don't waste my time. He's like, when you're serious about upgrading things, you come and talk to me. But what sucks is there's like this construction sign out in front of my house. It's like, my house looks nice, I've upgraded it, but it's just like, I wish there wasn't Scrooge's face smirking at me from the front of my house. That'd be nice if like maybe that was inside or like in some menu or something. So the glitches. So there were some random issues. Again, this is just like all dumb visual stuff. Remy did this weird thing when I was in the Ratatouille world, where like every time I finished a dish, he would like run over to one spot and then zip over to another spot. So like to talk to him, he was actually down by my left when clearly it like looked like he was supposed to be standing somewhere else. The dinnerware on one half of his restaurant is always floating. If I go in they did an update this morning, and like the two things that I checked, I was like, are they floating? And like went in like, yep, they're just like about a foot above the table. And again, it's not like ruining any functionality or anything. It just looks weird. I can't use the stove that Remy gave me. I put it in my house and I go to like work on it, and the camera like zooms over to, it's like, okay, time to cook stuff. And then just, nope. So I still can like,
so that's a real glitch.
Yeah. I can like, the other stoves work. I can go into Goofy's house and make something. I can go to Remy's restaurant and make something. It's just that one item that works weird. Mickey and Goofy both said good morning when it was like the sun was setting. And one time my buttons didn't do anything. Like if I hit triangle to go to the inventory, it didn't work. So I went inside and went outside, and I fixed it. So, and that was just once. So I'm not quite sure what the update addressed this morning, but still can't use my stove, and the flatware is still floating. Those are the two things that I checked when I saw that update was available.
Yeah. Early access is always fascinating as to like just exactly what you're getting out of it, because otherwise, aside from some of these polished things, it sounds like you're playing a fairly complete game.
Yeah, I was surprised how much I got done. Like if I played all day, I would have most of this game unlocked, or at least like the areas unlocked. And so I think that's, some of the things that I was worried about is like, how much is this going to string me along? Like, how much am I going to, even Animal Crossing, I remember when we finally got code for that and I was reviewing it, I was like, there's just nothing else I can do, like it's so clearly I should just, stop this game and then just get up early tomorrow morning and keep on going. Or, that issue of it being closed, like all the shops or the restaurants open all the time and all the shops are open. I love that Remy asks you to build him a house, even though I'm like, can't you like live in the sink or something? Like you need a house. And in the movie, he lives like in a very high apartment in this building, and so they have this beautiful view of Paris, like from their apartment. And so Remy lives in a 4-story like apartment building. It's this mad. It's like the biggest house in the game is for this like rat. And so I thought that was funny. But it's just a very accessible game. There's just a lot to do in any given day, and there wasn't, for it being early access, quote unquote, for it just launching, especially given, the early access on the early access, getting the code a couple days beforehand. There was just not a lot. I had no idea how to make ratatouille. There was a little guesswork at the end of his quest where he's like, all right, now, guess which vegetables go in. And like that's, I'm not a good cook. That took a while for me to, I was like, maybe I could just Google it and find out like, oh, zucchini is the thing I think onions was the thing I was missing. But it's just, I did not get frustrated with this game. I had a great time.
Nice.
It's just,
any favorite like character interaction or moment or quest so far from that weekend?
One thing that you can do that's neat that I'm not quite sure exactly on the back end how it works is when a character first goes from level 1 to level 2, you can pick like something for them to focus on. So like the first person I leveled up with was Goofy, and I picked fishing because he was like really into fishing.
Right.
And so
I remember that from the trailer.
And so it's like, oh, neat. So like whenever I just see him walking around, he's fishing. And so it's neat to, it's like, oh, maybe Scrooge McDuck will like digging. That kind of seems like a thing Scrooge McDuck will do. But yeah, I think I like when, I mentioned this before, but I like the ability to like be cheeky sometimes. So like one time Scrooge was like, oh man, I could go for a swim right now in my money. And I got to ask him like, you can't do that. Like, you can't do that. And he was like, excuse me. He's like, actually, I've practiced it for my entire life, and I've become very good at swimming, in gold coins. And it's just neat. It's just nice to be like, that's impossible. Like, you can't, so like they definitely know. I just this morning, actually, when I jumped in, I talked to Remy, and Remy said, I've been thinking, and one of the dialogue options is a dangerous pastime, which is what Gaston says about Belle in his song. And so it's like, if you know this stuff, like there's some cheeky options. These are very charming characters, and it's neat to see them like running around. And it got a little claustrophobic because I hadn't unlocked like the other areas, and so everywhere I went, like I would bump into somebody. But like now that I'm opening up other biomes, it's fun to see, like Mickey like wandering through the forest or like. And I think the biggest test is if, playing this as voraciously as I did for 4 days, if now that, this video is recorded and I can edit this and post it up on youtube.com/easyallies, if I'd be like, all right, enough, like I need a break. And like, I will definitely play this before I go to bed, and probably play this right when I get up first thing in the morning until I at least unlock all these biomes. And Elsa needs some iron ingots. Then I finally got iron ore. Like, here we go. I can make this now. So I'm definitely curious to keep going and seeing that stuff. And it's very straightforward in its like, I use questing like very lightly, because again, this is like not an action focused game. This is just very inventory driven. You're cooking things, you are building things, and you are giving them to people, and you're making things level up. But I was a bit skeptical going in, and I think with the exception of just the restrictions in terms of how long it takes to get stuff, how expensive stuff is, the little nervousness around the microtransaction stuff, and just like a glitch here or there, I had a pretty good time. And just no doubt this game will get repetitive. Like, no doubt that like, like the second morning I logged into the game, Moana's like, I'm going sailing today. I'm like, are you? I'm sure that'll be, like, it's a good day for sailing. It's like on day 300, I bet that can grate a little bit. Whereas characters in Animal Crossing tend to kind of keep to themselves, like you don't, they will express themselves when you talk to them, but like, I think they took the hint a little too strongly that it's fun when you fish in front of a character in Animal Crossing, and they'll, hey, when you like catch a butterfly or something, they'll clap. Every time you fish, a character like runs over. It's like you cannot fish alone. Like Wally will just like speed over and like, yay. So they're a little too eager to get like right up next to you. But I think if you're just a total Disney file, that's like kind of what you want. That's kind of what you're looking for. So I was charmed. Any other questions as an Animal Crossing fan, or can I get back to this thing?
Yeah, no, I think we're good. Yeah, thank you to everyone who's been watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and ring the notification bell here on YouTube. And if you like what we do, check out patreon.com/easyallies. We are viewer supported and we are independent, so we need your support to keep this thing going. So if you like our previews and reviews and podcasts and everything else we do, consider becoming a patron. And one of the higher end perks there, that $100 tier, you get the golden voice. Brandon will read basically whatever you send him.
Somebody gave me the script to the Haunted Mansion, and I was
Yeah.
it wasn't even the whole thing because there's a word count, and so I was just like, I got read a little bit extra just because I know it off the top of my head. But people have been wonderful at that tier. I've got to read a lot of really fun stuff. So shout out to our already patrons.
Yeah. So if you know somebody that would appreciate that as a birthday present 1 month or whatever, yeah, consider jumping in there. But until next time, thanks.
Greetings, neighbor.